Hey everybody, and welcome to or back to my channel, My Kind of Stuff. And today we are doing a little end of the year review. Okay, I just wanted to do this video to kind of wrap up my year of reading, kind of go over things that I need to finish up, some plans for next year, some different stats and things like that, just to kind of have a little outlet for all of these things. So, as far as my reading plans for next year, I've already put out a couple videos. One of them is my 25 and 2025, and those are all new releases. I want to start a new video series on my channel called Series Wrap Up, where I pick a series and that I am in the middle of and focus on finishing it. I'm also still going to continue to do my TBR takedown videos because reading through my physical TBR is something that I really want to try to accomplish. I realize that reading the entire thing, like, that's never going to happen, like, being realistic, but I have a lot of things that have been hanging around on my shelves for a year or 2 or 3 or more now, and I just need to get them read. Like, there's no reason they should still be hanging around, so I do enjoy that series. I just started it a few months ago, and it's been going really well for me, so I do wanna continue that. Also wanna talk about, like, how I'm tracking my reading. Currently, I've been using a bullet journal and Goodreads. I think next year in 2025, I'm going to do away from the bullet journal, at least in the beginning, and kind of see how I feel about it. I'm going to start using Notion more as far as like tracking and scheduling my content and my reads, because I think it's a much easier place to plan in. It takes a lot less effort to put together than like making these fancy spreads every month. And let's be honest, I get lazy and I don't make fancy spreads any month. My bullet journal has just turned into a list. Like, there's nothing fancy about it. There's no highlighting, there's no markers, there's no nothing. There is paper and there is pen and there is a never ending list. And it's not a great way to track things. So yeah, I want to start utilizing Notion more. I should have a video coming out next week where I'll go into that in some more detail and kind of show you guys some of the spreads I have set up. Some other reading plans for next year. We have our Love and Horror book club. We've already picked our books for the first half of the year. I have a video announcing those, so I'll make sure I link that down below as well. And then a Goodreads goal. Don't know what I want to do for this. I don't know how I feel about this. Well, that's not true. I know how I feel. It's just very mixed. So that's something we'll get into as well. As far as some other housekeeping things, my Love is in the TBR game definitely needs some tweaking. I like the board, I like how it's played, I like my rules. However, my prompts seem to not really be fitting my TBR and my reading tastes as of right now. So I need to adjust some prompts. There's definitely a few that I want to add, which includes a book from the Horror Bingo Challenge, a book off of my 25 and 2025 list, and a book off of my priority series list. I have a video about that as well, like all of my active series and my priority series and quick wins for the year. So I'll make sure I link that down below as well. But I think including these prompts, also taking out some other ones, like I have a middle grade prompt. I don't have any middle grade left on my shelf. Now that's not to say I couldn't find any, because obviously there's like Kindle Unlimited, there's the library. I could buy another book, but in the spirit of trying to focus on my TBR, I think I want to like make more prompts that are geared towards books that I already own, where some of them aren't anymore. Like, I've read all of the books that fit those prompts. Like, I have one that says like an animal on the cover. I'm running low on those books. So, like, I just need to tweak some things. So, you'll be seeing some new prompts coming next year. Let's go back to talking about Goodreads for a second. So, back in 2022 is when I really got back into reading. Reading has always been a roller coaster for me. There's like, I get into a mood and it's like all that I do. And then there might be a year where like I pick up one or two books. But in 2022, in June specifically, is when I really got back into it. I got into BookTube. I started tracking my reading on Goodreads. So that year, I set a Goodreads goal of 75 books, and I ended up reading 86. So I did a really good job, especially for only reading for like basically half a year. Then in 2023, I set my goal to 200, which this is where it's becoming an issue for me. Like, is 200 doable? Definitely, because I read 239 books that year. So I blew that out of the water. However, that's a ridiculous number. That is not always going to be an achievable number. Uh, and I don't like setting the goal that high. That seems ridiculous. So then in 2024, I set my goal to only 100 books. Now, obviously, I've really been into reading this year, especially because I started my BookTube channel now. So I was reading even more than usual. And as of right now, where I sit with my Goodreads goal for the year is I have achieved it. I am at 295 books as of right now filming this video. I still have like, I don't know, a little less than half the month to go. I still have plans to read 12 more books before the end of the year. And honestly, at the rate I've been flying through books lately, I should achieve that. I'm also reading like a graphic novel series right now, and I do track those on Goodreads as well, and comics and manga, those kinds of things. I've also tracked like short stories and novellas. So, like, 295 sounds like a ton, and it is. I'm not saying that it's not, because it is, but it also includes a lot of those types of things. So that's not 295 full length novels, okay? Let's just be real. So by the end of the year, I should be at 307 books read this year. So that brings me to 2025. What do I want to set my Goodreads goal as? As of right now, I don't really know. Part of me wants to just set it as one book. Because honestly, if that is all that I read next year, I would still be happy that I read that one book. I know that 100 is probably achievable again if I just set it at 100, but also coming next year, I think that halfway through the year, I might be having to go back to the office for work instead of working from home, which does mean I will then have a commute. So if the book I'm reading doesn't have an audiobook, I won't have as much time to read it, because while I'm working at home, I can listen to audiobooks. If I go back into office, I won't be able to do that. So there's like almost 8 hours a day right there that I won't be able to be reading. So I'll be able to read on my commute if there's an audiobook. If there's not, I'm not going to be able to read until I get home. And honestly, after like a commute and working all day and, taking care of the animals and taking care of myself, there's not a lot of time left in the day. So the second half of 2025 could look very different for me. So as of right now, I'm still on the fence about what I want to set my 2025 goal as, but I'm thinking somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to 100. And we've kind of already touched on how I track my reading. So like I said, I had my bullet journal, I've used Goodreads. I also have a Instagram template that I use every month. As well as I was posting on Instagram a monthly wrap up post that included all of the books that I read for that month. And I kind of fell off of that now towards the end of the year. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of upset with myself that I didn't keep up with it because I like being able to like go back and look and like see the covers. Like not just see a list of books, but like see the covers and know what I was like in the mood for at that time, and like it's just a nice like memory keeping sort of thing. So I'm hoping that in January I can start that again and actually keep up with it all year. We'll see what happens, but I've already failed this year. I didn't keep up with it. Now let's talk about my 24 and 2024 wrap up. So obviously there were 24 books on this list. I read 13 of them, meaning there were 11 of them that I didn't read. You know, I guess technically we can say I failed that challenge. And I also put a video out on my 25 and 2025, and I talked a little bit about this as well. But I think the issue was I put a lot of backlist books on this list, and I think that hurt because they were things that I wasn't gravitating towards. Like, there's a reason they're on my backlist and have been sitting on my shelf. So I feel like maybe I just set myself up for failure here. The books that I did read was the first books in the Savage Land series. I read Undeniable. I read Zodiac Academy, the first book. Well, I actually read a couple, but the first one was what was on my 24 and 2024. Queen of Shadows, The Sword Catcher, Six of Crows, Shadow and Bone, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, Twisted Love, The Way of Kings, Where's Molly, That Sick Love, and Butcher and Blackbird. Now, there are a few books on here that are older books, but for the most part, I feel like a good half of these that I read were newer books, like put out in the last year or two, and not ones that have just been sitting around. Um, so let's talk about the ones that I didn't read. There were a couple from the same author, which was Charming Your Dad and Gravity. Didn't get to those. I do think that I still want to, but I just never make them a priority, so I don't know. Also, Hideaway, The Stars Are on Our Side, Irish Kiss, The Diviners, The Fine Print, House of Sky and Breath, Sweet Surrender, The Priory of the Orange Tree, and Cute But Creepy. There's a few on here that like I'm just not interested in anymore. There's some that are still on my TBR. I want to still try to make them a priority. House of Sky and Breath, I don't know that I even really care. I hated book one. Um, so the odds of me liking book two are slim, especially because I know that I've not heard anything good about the series after the first book. So I think urban fantasy is just not for me, and I'm gonna give the second book a try. But if it's not working, I'm just DNFing the series and unhauling them. Like I'm over it. I'm over it looming over me. Sarah J. Maas, I tried buying all of her books, reading all of her books. I really enjoyed most of ACOTAR, but Throne of Glass hasn't been hitting for me. Crescent City 1 didn't hit. So, like, I'm just sick of all of those books looming over my head, especially with how big most of them are. Like, I would feel so accomplished if I just got my Sarah J. Maas world done. Um, so we'll see about that one. Priory of the Orange Tree, I do need to get to, but honestly, the size of it is what's putting me off. Cupa Creepy, it didn't come out when it was supposed to, when I planned on reading it, and it got pushed back. And then I didn't know when it was coming out, and then it came out, and now there's another book out, and now I'm really behind. And I still do want to get to this book to continue the series, so we'll see. The Stars Are on Our Side, that's a Jennifer Hartman book. She's on my priority list for this year, so I do still want to get to that. And some of the others, like The Fine Print, I don't know if I care. Like, I own the series. I don't know if I care anymore. They're too big, they look too long, and I don't know. I'll try them because they're on my shelf, but like, why did I put this on my priority list? I don't care. The Diviners, I do still want to read, but it's just never something that like I push to the forefront. So Yeah, I feel like I set myself up for failure with these ones that I didn't read, and that's my fault. So I'm trying to rectify that this year by doing 25 new release books by authors that I've read from and loved before, books that I'm really excited to get to, series I'm really excited to continue, and I'm hoping that that makes me more successful in this challenge. And I think also including it on as prompts on my TBR game is really going to help me as well. Another yearly challenge that I started in October was the Horror Bingo Challenge. There's 25 total prompts. I have finished 12 of them already, which means I have 13 remaining, which isn't bad. I'm like to the halfway point, and I have until October of 2025 to finish this. And honestly, most of these books I am excited to get to, so it hopefully should not be a problem. The books that I have finished are Middle of the Night, All Hallows, Blood Covenant, Rust Colored Rain, No Gods, No Monsters, The Squonk and the Horned Beast, The Butcher Game, House, Into the Drowning Deep, Small Horrors, Finders Keepers, and Brainworms. So that leaves me with the ones that I still need to read, and those are Moon of the Crusted Snow, Home is Where the Bodies Are, The Most Dangerous Game, Jawbone, Holy Ghost Road, A Dirty Job, The Devil and the Dark Water, Vampires of El Norte, Neverest, 19 Claws and a Blackbird, The Merciless, The Eyes Are the Best Part, and When the Night Bell Rings. And yeah, like I said, most of these I am really excited to get to. I have plans to already read a couple of these coming up in January. So, like, I feel like I have a very good shot at completing this challenge. And again, adding this prompt to my TBR game to pick one of these books to read, I think will just help give me the extra push I need to get there. Then there is one more year long challenge that I started and I tried, but I feel like I failed epically and I don't know that I'm going to continue. And that is the R Fantasy Bingo Challenge. I really just fell off tracking my reading for this. I didn't make a good plan for it. And honestly, like, it's just too much work. I'm not really into that fantasy that much. I haven't been reading all that much fantasy lately. Um, a lot of the prompts were really difficult to know beforehand if the book you're reading is even going to fit that prompt, unless you like get complete spoilers for it. And then by that point, I don't want to read it. So I don't know. And one of my other things that I really want to do in 2025 is really narrow down things that I want to participate in. I just did way too many readathons last year, tried participating in way too many things, and I think it really put a damper on my enjoyment level of things some months. So I want to be more intentional with what I'm participating in this year. Like, there are obviously readathons that I still want to do and will continue to do every year. But there's a lot of things that I did that, like, why did I do it? I didn't enjoy doing it. And I always want to support my friends, support other booktubers, and I will always, do announcements for things or happy to do reading sprints for things. But, like, I don't want to force a TBR anymore. I just want to have fun with reading again. And sometimes when you do these kinds of like very specific readathons, I feel like it takes the fun out of reading. So, yeah, that being said, that is my end of the year review. Stay tuned next week because I do have a video coming up with all of my goals for 2025, some more reading plans and updates, things like that. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Make sure your notifications are on, subscribe if you're new, give the video a thumbs up on your way out, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.